The grand halls of the Galactic Council were silent, except for the occasional hum of machinery and the distant sounds of officials moving about. On this day, the fate of the galaxy rested in the hands of an unlikely party, the humans of Earth. The center of the massive chamber, the council's table stretched across the room, glimmering in the light from the huge windows that overlooked the stars. The alien representatives, each from a powerful ancient species, sat in their seats. The weight of centuries of power and influence could be felt in their eyes, their words, their very posture. They were not used to being challenged, especially by a race so young, so unrefined as the humans. At the far end of the table, Earth's representative, General Marcus Ryder, stood tall, his face unreadable. Beside him was his team, a mix of military advisors, diplomats, and scientists. The humans had come to these talks with the hope of reaching a peaceful resolution. They wanted security, alliances, and a place among the stars, but not at the cost of their independence. "You are asking us to disarm," General Ryder said, his voice calm but firm. "And for what? To ensure that your galactic peace continues while we remain nothing but pawns in your game?" A murmur of surprise rippled through the room. The other representatives, alien and human alike, shifted in their seats. They had expected submission, not defiance. The leading alien delegate, an ancient being from the planet Thrix, looked over the table with narrowed eyes. His species had lived for millennia, and they had long held dominion over countless worlds. His name was Zer, and his people had seen civilizations rise and fall. Humans were just another species to be brought into the fold, to be guided and controlled. "You speak of independence, General Ryder," Zer's voice rumbled. "But what you do not understand is that the galaxy is larger than your small world. Peace is maintained by control, by unity. Your kind cannot be trusted to uphold peace. You are too volatile." The words stung. General Ryder could feel the weight of the judgment from the galaxy's most powerful beings. He glanced to his team, where they exchanged quiet looks. They had prepared for this moment, but the challenge before them was more daunting than they had imagined. The room fell silent as General Ryder took a deep breath. He had to keep his composure. His people, his soldiers, and the entire planet Earth were watching this moment unfold. There could be no mistake. "I understand your concerns, Zer," Ryder said, keeping his voice steady. "But we will not sacrifice our autonomy for the sake of your peace. We have fought wars to preserve our right to make decisions for ourselves. We will not be bullied into following your orders, no matter how grand your promises sound." Other delegates were shocked. The humans had spoken with an unwavering determination. Earth had always been a distant and somewhat insignificant player in the galaxy. The alien races had never believed they could pose a real threat. But now, the humans were challenging them, defying their authority. Zer's gaze hardened, his patience wearing thin. "You are making a mistake, General Ryder. We offer you the peace of the galaxy. Refusing it will lead to your destruction. Your kind is not prepared for the forces you challenge." General Ryder stood tall, unflinching. "We don't need your peace. If you think we're not prepared, then you underestimate us. Earth has fought for its survival before. We will do so again." He turned toward his team and nodded. Without a word, they moved to pack up their things. The human delegation had made their decision. The talks were over. Zer's face twisted in disbelief as the humans stood up from the table, gathering their papers and quietly leaving the room. The council members watched in stunned silence, unable to process what had just happened. The humans had walked away. Outside the council hall, General Ryder's team followed him in quiet solemnity. They knew the weight of their actions. They had just made an enemy of the most powerful political body in the galaxy. There would be consequences. But Ryder wasn't concerned with that now. His people had a message to send. "We're done," Ryder said, his voice low. "We're not going to play by their rules." The other humans nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. They had just rejected the offer of peace, and they knew the galaxy would not take kindly to such a bold move. The news spread fast across the galaxy, and soon, the council's reaction was clear. The other factions who had been eagerly watching the talks were divided. Some alien races were furious, convinced that humanity's defiance would destabilize the galaxy. Others were curious, intrigued by the boldness of the humans. They had never seen a species so young, so new to the galactic stage, dare to stand up to the galaxy's greatest powers. As the human fleet made its way back to Earth, General Ryder sat quietly, looking out the viewport. He didn't know what would come next. He didn't know if they would be attacked or if the galaxy would make good on its threats. But one thing was certain. The humans had drawn a line in the sand, and the galaxy would soon learn that humans were not afraid to cross it. This first part sets the stage for the rising tensions and builds the conflict between the humans and the galactic powers, highlighting Earth's resilience and defiance. Let me know if you need any adjustments or further sections. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. As Earth's delegation left the Galactic Council's halls, the galaxy's leaders could hardly believe it. No one had ever dared to walk away from the talks. The great powers of the galaxy had long been accustomed to the submission of lesser species. Earth, however, had just shown them something they hadn't anticipated, a defiance like no other. On Earth, the reaction was mixed. Some were proud of their leaders, viewing the walkout as a sign of strength. Others were worried, wondering if humanity had just made a grave mistake. But General Marcus Ryder and his team knew that they had done the right thing. The galaxy was vast, but they weren't going to let anyone dictate humanity's future. They had their own destiny to carve out. As soon as the human delegation returned to Earth, preparations began. The military, which had been steadily building up over the past few years, went into high alert. The news from the galaxy had been clear. Earth's refusal to conform to the Galactic Council's demands wasn't going to be ignored. The Council's power was immense, but the humans had something they didn't. The humans had a spirit that couldn't be broken. While the humans prepared, the galactic powers convened once more. The Galactic Council, composed of the oldest and most powerful species in the universe, were furious. Their authority had been challenged, and now they needed to respond. Earth's defiance couldn't go unanswered. But the question on every alien leader's mind was the same. How should they deal with humanity? Do they truly think they can stand against us? Zaire, the Thrix delegate, growled, his voice booming in the large chamber. We have crushed entire civilizations. What makes them think they can resist us? The other delegates exchanged uneasy glances. It wasn't just Zaire's people who were concerned. Many of them were. Humanity had shown an unexpected bravery, a raw, unrelenting spirit. And that wasn't something that could easily be erased. One of the younger delegates, a member of the Shivara species, spoke up. Maybe we should have considered them more carefully. Their technology is inferior to ours, but there's something about their resolve that sets them apart. I fear underestimating them could lead to disaster. Another delegate, a silent and mysterious creature from the far reaches of the galaxy, finally spoke. They are not like the others. We must find a way to force them back into compliance, or we risk an uprising. And so, it was decided. The Galactic Council would take action. But the first steps were uncertain. They could send threats, yes. But what if those threats didn't work? What if humanity was as determined as they seemed? Meanwhile, back on Earth, General Ryder and his team watched the growing tension with a steady focus. Ryder had seen wars, battles, and negotiations before, but this situation felt different. The galaxy had no idea what humanity was capable of, and they were about to find out. We can't afford to wait around and see if they'll strike first, Ryder told his military advisors. We need to be ready. No matter what happens, we stand firm. Humanity's military was still young compared to the ancient alien empires. But what they lacked in experience, they made up for with creativity, resilience, and an unwillingness to back down. Earth's fleet, which had once been small and underdeveloped, was rapidly becoming a force to be reckoned with. Ryder's team worked tirelessly to enhance their ships, their weapons, and their strategies. They knew that the galaxy's powers would come for them, but they also knew that humans had a surprising edge: ingenuity. On the other side of the galaxy, the first signs of retaliation began. A fleet of alien ships, larger than anything the humans had ever seen, was being assembled. The galaxy's greatest powers were preparing to descend upon Earth, and they were ready to make an example out of humanity. It was a terrifying sight, but it was one that didn't faze Earth's leaders. "Let them come," Ryder muttered under his breath as he watched the growing fleet on his screen. "We're ready," and ready they were. The first few battles began in the vast emptiness of space, far from Earth but close enough for the humans to respond quickly. It was in these battles that the galaxy first realized just how far humanity had come. The humans weren't just fighting, they were winning. They fought like they had nothing to lose because they didn't. Their freedom was on the line, and they would do whatever it took to keep it. The alien fleet that had come to punish them found themselves caught in a storm of human tactics and precision. The humans may have been outnumbered, but their ships were faster, their technology more adaptable, and their strategies far more unconventional than the aliens had expected. Each victory, no matter how small, sent a ripple through the galaxy. The other alien species began to take notice. Was humanity truly capable of standing against the might of the galaxy's oldest empires? The question haunted the minds of every alien leader. As the battles raged on, the human fleet began to push back the invaders, slowly but steadily. Earth had proven that it was no longer a passive participant in the galactic drama. It was a force to be reckoned with. Back on Earth, people watched the victories unfold on their screens. News broadcasts showed the incredible feats of the human fleet, and the public was torn between fear and pride. They had never seen anything like this before. Some were terrified that the galaxy's retaliation would soon escalate to something even more terrifying. Others, however, were filled with a fierce new sense of hope. Humanity was fighting back, and they weren't backing down. The world held its breath as the battles continued to unfold. The galaxy's greatest powers had thought they could crush humanity without a second thought. But now the tables were turning. Earth had struck the first blow, and the galaxy would never forget it. The war between Earth and the galaxy's greatest powers had begun. After the humans rejected the peace talks, the galaxy had underestimated their ability to defend themselves. What the Council and its allies didn't know was that humans had something none of the older alien species could predict: determination. General Marcus Ryder stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, one of Earth's most advanced warships. Behind him, the vast expanse of space stretched out, silent and endless, with only the distant flicker of stars to break the void. It had been a week since the first battle, and things were changing fast. The humans were no longer just participants in galactic negotiations. They had made themselves a force to be reckoned with. "We've received reports of alien ships gathering near the Jupiter system," said Commander Diaz, one of Ryder's most trusted officers. "They're preparing for a strike. It's bigger than anything we've seen so far." Ryder nodded, his mind sharp and focused. The situation was growing more dangerous with each passing hour. The initial skirmishes had been small, but the galaxy's fleet was growing, and soon they would have to face a much larger force. "We need to move fast," Ryder said, his voice firm. "Prepare the fleet. We're not waiting for them to attack first. We're going to hit them where it hurts." Commander Diaz turned back to the communications panel, speaking quickly into the mic. "All ships in the fleet, prepare for the assault. We're going in." The human fleet, while smaller than the enormous alien armadas, was highly efficient and well coordinated. The humans had learned quickly. They had no time to waste in this galactic conflict. Each moment counted, and each battle was more than just about survival. It was about proving to the galaxy that Earth would not be intimidated. The Vanguard moved swiftly through the vast expanse of space, cutting through the dark like a knife through butter. Ryder was leading this charge, and there was no turning back now. The crew was ready, their minds focused on the task ahead. As the battle began, the first wave of alien ships appeared on the sensors. There were dozens of them, massive and intimidating, but they were not as prepared for the humans as they thought. "We're going in," Ryder ordered. "Target the weaker ships first. We'll send a message." The humans launched their attack with precision. Their ships, agile and fast, moved quickly in a way the aliens didn't expect. The humans didn't fight like the other species. There was no grand strategy of holding lines or waiting for reinforcements. They struck with the speed of a lightning bolt, hitting fast, then retreating before the enemy could respond. It was the perfect strategy for a species used to being underestimated. The first few alien ships were disabled within minutes, their shields breaking apart under the force of human weapons. The humans didn't just fight for victory. They fought with a deep-seated belief that they had the right to exist on their own terms, not just in the shadow of the galaxy's established empires. "We've taken out their rear ships," said Commander Diaz, watching the data flood in. "They're scrambling to reorganize." "They won't have time," Ryder said, eyes narrowed. "Keep pushing. We hit them hard and fast." The battle raged on for hours. The humans didn't stop. They were relentless. The alien fleets, once so sure of their superiority, began to falter. The humans were no longer just a minor inconvenience. They were a major threat. The alien ships began to retreat, regrouping in desperation. But the humans didn't give them the chance. They pressed forward, chasing the remnants of the alien fleet, unwilling to let the opportunity slip away. As the last of the enemy ships fled into the depths of space, a tense silence filled the battlefield. The Vanguard and the rest of Earth's fleet hovered in the darkness, breathing heavily from the battle. "We've done it," Diaz said, a sense of disbelief in her voice. "We've beaten them." Ryder stood still for a moment, taking in the scene. The aftermath of the battle was quiet, almost eerily calm. The alien ships had been forced to retreat, but the humans knew the victory wasn't over. They had struck a blow, but the galaxy would not forgive them. The galaxy's great powers would come back with a vengeance, and Earth had to be ready. "We've only just begun," Ryder muttered, turning away from the view. The next day, the galactic leaders of the Council met in a secret conference. The losses were being counted. The retreat had been swift and chaotic, but it had been clear to every alien representative that something had shifted in the galaxy. The humans weren't just a nuisance. They were a real threat. For the first time in history, an entire fleet of alien ships had been forced to retreat from a human assault. "We cannot allow this to continue," Zaire, the Thrix delegate, said, his voice cold and calculated. "If we let them go unchecked, humanity will become the greatest threat the galaxy has ever seen." The others nodded in agreement. They had underestimated the humans, and now they would pay the price for that mistake. "We need to strike back," one of the other alien leaders said. "We can't let them gain more power. We must crush them before they get any stronger." The leaders of the galaxy had a choice. They could continue to ignore Earth, or they could bring everything they had to bear against them. The galaxy's leaders chose the latter. Back on Earth, General Ryder and his team were preparing for what was to come. They had won their first battle, but the war was far from over. The humans had no illusions. The alien empires would return with everything they had. But Ryder had something the galaxy didn't understand yet: the human spirit. And that spirit, stronger than any fleet, would be humanity's greatest weapon. After the humans' victory in the first major battle, the galaxy's most powerful empires were in shock. The alien fleet, expecting an easy conquest, had been forced to retreat in disarray. News of the defeat spread across the galaxy quickly, and every alien species, from the oldest to the most recently discovered, began to rethink their positions on humanity. Back on Earth, General Marcus Ryder and his team sat around a large table in the command center. The room was dimly lit, only the glow of the massive screens in front of them casting shadows on their faces. Earth had won the first battle, but the war was far from over. The galaxy would not forgive them so easily. "Their forces are massive," Commander Diaz said, tapping at the holographic display in front of her. "We're not going to win this with just one successful strike. We need a plan, and we need it fast." Ryder nodded, his face serious. The humans had pulled off an unexpected victory, but the retaliation was sure to come. The alien fleet was already reorganizing, preparing for another strike against Earth. The next battle could be far larger than anything they had seen before. "We've shown them we can fight," Ryder said, his voice calm but heavy with the weight of their responsibility. "But this isn't about just fighting. It's about surviving. It's about making sure the galaxy knows that we won't be silenced. The humans knew that Earth's fleet was still small compared to the enormous forces of the galactic empires. But they had one advantage: their ability to adapt quickly. While the alien fleets relied on traditional tactics, the humans had the creativity and flexibility to think outside the box. They had to use their minds to win, not just their weapons. "We need to find a way to disrupt their command," Ryder said after a long pause. "If we hit their leadership, we hit their morale. If we can break their chains of command, we can weaken their forces." The humans were far from the most powerful race in the galaxy, but they had something their enemies didn't. They were unpredictable. The galaxy's older races had followed similar patterns for centuries, relying on sheer numbers and overwhelming firepower to win. Humans, on the other hand, had only been part of the galaxy's grand scheme for a short time, and they didn't have the luxury of following tradition. They had to be smart, resourceful, and willing to take risks. General Ryder leaned over the table and studied the map of the galaxy that was projected in front of him. "We need to make a move they're not expecting, something they'll never see coming." The team exchanged looks. They had already fought back against the alien fleets with unexpected speed and ferocity, but that wasn't going to be enough this time. The galaxy's great powers had learned their lesson from the first encounter, and they were already planning their next move. Earth's fleet would soon face a full-scale invasion. "I've got an idea," Lieutenant Graves said from across the room, breaking the silence. "We could target their communication relays. Their command ships rely on their communication networks to coordinate attacks. If we take out their ability to communicate, they'll be scattered and confused." Ryder's eyes lit up. "Exactly. If we break their communication, we can create chaos within their ranks. They won't know where to strike, who to follow, or even where the next attack is coming from. It'll slow them down enough for us to launch a decisive counterattack." But there was one problem. The alien fleets had powerful, heavily guarded communication systems. Getting close enough to disable them would require more than just quick thinking. It would need a precise, coordinated strike. "We'll need to deploy our best pilots for this," Ryder said, his mind already turning. "The mission will be dangerous. We'll be in enemy territory and we'll have little room for error." The room grew quiet, the weight of Ryder's words sinking in. Everyone understood the stakes. The mission could turn the tide of the war, but it could also lead to massive losses. "We can't back down now," Ryder continued. "If we don't strike at their heart, they'll come for us again, harder than ever. This is our chance to show them that we will not be crushed." And so, the humans began preparing for their boldest strategy yet. The fleet was divided into smaller strike teams, each tasked with targeting specific communication relays across different sectors of the galaxy. They would need to travel deep into alien-controlled space, bypassing patrols, avoiding detection, and striking at the heart of the enemy's command. The pilots chosen for the mission were some of the best in Earth's fleet, handpicked by Ryder himself. They were fearless and skilled, capable of executing complex maneuvers in the heat of battle. But even they knew the risks. One wrong move, one slip-up, and they could be surrounded by an overwhelming force of enemy ships. Lieutenant Graves, the mission's lead pilot, gathered the team together before they launched. The atmosphere was tense, but the humans knew what had to be done. The success of the mission depended not just on their technical skills, but on their ability to work together as a team. "This is it," Graves said, looking around at the pilots. "We've been through tough battles before, but this is different. We're taking the fight to them. We're showing them that they don't control the galaxy. We do." The pilots nodded, their eyes focused and determined. They had fought for their survival, but now they were fighting for something even greater: freedom. "Let's make sure they remember who we are," Ryder said as he watched the pilots prepare to launch. The mission was a success. In the following days, the strike teams hit several key communication relays, causing mass confusion in the enemy ranks. Ships that were once perfectly coordinated became disjointed, unsure of where to go or what to do next. The alien fleets, once so confident, were now struggling to maintain order. The humans had dealt a significant blow to the enemy's ability to organize their forces. And in doing so, they had sent a clear message to the galaxy. Earth was not a race to be ignored. Humanity was here to stay, and they would not be easily defeated. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. People cheered, celebrating their success, even as the war raged on. The victory had given humanity a taste of what they were capable of. They had taken the first steps toward defeating the galaxy's greatest powers. But Ryder knew that the road ahead would not be easy. There would be more battles, more challenges to face. But for the first time, the humans had shown the galaxy that they could not be underestimated. After Earth's successful strike against the alien communication systems, the entire galaxy was left in shock. The once unshakable confidence of the galactic powers had been shattered. The humans had proven they could strike hard and fast, using clever tactics to throw off the most sophisticated alien fleets. The galaxy's great empires now realized they had underestimated Earth, and that was a mistake they could not afford to make again. Back on Earth, the mood was a mix of pride and caution. The victory had been crucial, but General Marcus Ryder knew it wasn't enough. The galaxy's leaders would retaliate soon, and the humans had to be ready. There was no turning back now. "We've made our move," Ryder said as he addressed his senior officers in the war room. The room was filled with screens displaying the galaxy's map, showing the movements of enemy forces. "But we can't rest. They're already regrouping. The next strike will be bigger than anything we've faced so far." Commander Diaz nodded, her expression serious. "They won't take this lightly. They'll come at us with everything they have." "We need to be prepared for the worst," Ryder replied, pacing in front of the table. "We don't just need to defend Earth. We need to show the galaxy that we can keep fighting no matter what they throw at us. If we can't make them back off, then we might be looking at an all-out war." The human fleet had already proven itself capable of striking down alien ships in hit-and-run attacks, but now they needed to plan for a full-scale invasion. The humans knew they couldn't match the alien fleets in size, but they had something that the aliens didn't: their willpower and resourcefulness. That would have to be enough. In the coming days, Ryder and his team worked tirelessly to prepare for the next phase of the war. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of technology was scrutinized and upgraded. The humans couldn't afford any weaknesses. Meanwhile, the galactic powers were in a state of confusion and fear. The loss of communication had caused chaos within the alien fleets, but now the galaxy's greatest leaders were gathering once again to discuss their next move. Zaire, the Thrix delegate, sat at the head of the table, his mind racing. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had disrupted their entire system. The Thrix and their allies had never been so shaken. How had a relatively young species like the humans pulled it off? "The humans have proven they can fight back," Zaire said, his voice filled with frustration. "They've disrupted our command, and they've shown that they will not be cowed. This isn't just about peace talks anymore. This is about their survival. They've already hurt us, and they'll keep doing it unless we crush them now." The other delegates murmured in agreement. The galaxy's great empires had been used to dominance, to being in control. They had never faced a species that would challenge them so openly, so fiercely. The humans had thrown the galaxy into disarray, and now it was time to finish what had been started. "We have no choice but to retaliate," one delegate, a representative from the Erickson Empire, said sharply. "If we let them go unpunished, we risk the balance of power in the galaxy. We cannot allow Earth to set a precedent for defiance." "Agreed," said Zaire, slamming his fist onto the table. "We need to show the humans that they cannot defeat the galaxy's greatest powers. If they want a war, we'll give them one." The decision was made. The galactic powers would launch a full-scale assault on Earth. The humans had chosen to defy the galaxy, and now the galaxy would respond in kind. Back on Earth, General Ryder knew it was coming. The alien fleets were preparing for an all-out invasion. There was no doubt in his mind that the next battle would be the most dangerous humanity had ever faced. "Prepare the fleet," Ryder ordered as the alert sounded. The human ships were readied for battle, and the fleet moved into position. Ryder's team was more focused than ever before. They had shown the galaxy that humans could fight back, but now they would have to prove that they could survive when the odds were stacked against them. "We've been waiting for this," Commander Diaz said, looking out the viewport as the stars blinked by. "Let's make sure they regret underestimating us." The first wave of the alien invasion came suddenly, as the enemy fleet appeared out of the dark void of space, larger than anything humanity had seen before. The aliens came in full force, massive warships, each one capable of destroying entire fleets. The humans had been preparing for this moment, but the sheer scale of the alien attack was overwhelming. "We need to hold the line," Ryder ordered, his voice calm despite the rising tension. "No matter what, we cannot let them break through our defenses." The battle was intense. The human fleet fought with everything they had, using the same hit-and-run tactics that had worked before. The humans focused on smaller, faster ships, using their agility to dodge the enemy's massive weapons. But even with their advanced technology, they were outnumbered. General Ryder knew they had to do more than just survive. They had to strike back. As the battle raged on, Ryder ordered his fleet to split into smaller groups and attack the enemy's flanks. It was a risky move, but it was the only way to turn the tide of the battle. "We need to hit their command ships," Ryder said. "If we can take out their leadership, we'll slow down their entire fleet." The human ships, working in smaller groups, launched a series of surprise attacks. The alien ships, while powerful, were caught off guard by the humans' relentless tactics. The humans' ships darted in and out of the enemy lines, targeting the command ships and disabling them one by one. The once formidable alien fleet began to falter. "General, we've taken down their flagship," one of Ryder's officers reported. "They're losing coordination." With their leadership in disarray, the alien fleet started to break apart. The humans pushed forward, gaining ground with every passing minute. The battle, which had seemed so impossible just hours earlier, was now turning in their favor. But Ryder knew that the war was far from over. The galactic powers would not give up easily. Earth had won this battle, but the fight for survival was just beginning.